Okay, so it's been a little over 3 months since I did my first unboxing of the Huawei Mate 20 Pro, and it's pretty much been my daily driver ever since. There's been loads of other phones that I've been really tempted to use instead, like the Google Pixel 3, the OnePlus 6T, even the McLaren edition with 10 gigs of RAM, even the iPhone XS and the Note 9. There's so many great phones out there. But for some reason, well, a couple of reasons really, I have stuck with the Mate 20 Pro. So I wanted to give you guys a bit of a longer term review. This is not sponsored, this is completely my 2 cents, my opinion, having used this phone relatively long term. Obviously, in the scheme of things, 3 months isn't that long, but in the phone world, it's quite a long time. The best indicator of what a good phone is what people actually end up using. I'm lucky enough to have access to pretty much all the phones on the market. I love what I do, I'm very lucky. But I choose the Mate 20 Pro. And the main reasons for that are obviously the battery life. The 4,200 mAh battery is one of the best, if not the best, on the market. The triple lens camera setup, which I love. I find myself using the ultra wide lens way more than I thought I would. And generally, it's just, for a better word or phrase, an all singing, all dancing phone. Dual SIM cards, stereo speakers, big W Quad HD screen, 3 lenses, the big battery, wireless reverse charging, which is cool but so slow it's almost pointless. And it's just a beautiful phone. I've got it in this twilight color, which as you can see is kind of a smudge magnet. I've also got a few scratches on it. So if you are looking to buy this, definitely get a case because while it is a beautiful phone, the glass back does pick up a few little scratches. So this is no longer a pristine phone. But as much as I do love the Mate 20 Pro, there are a couple of issues with it, which we'll go into throughout this video. But let's start by talking about the design and the display. And I should say that I'm lucky enough not to have any of that green display issue. It seems a lot of people are experiencing problems with the screen not being glued on correctly, and then they're seeing sort of a very subtle green tint, especially when you're looking at the screen if the lights are off in low light. Now, I haven't experienced this. This isn't the case for my phone, so I'm lucky enough not to have that. But if you do have it, go and get it fixed, because that's not right. I don't notice any issues with the screen. In fact, the screen is beautiful. I love the fact that it's Quad HD+, so because it has the bigger battery, I kind of prefer the extra sharpness because it's quite a big screen, so I keep it in the higher resolution, although it does impact battery life. I find keeping on the higher res tends to use up around an extra 10% of the battery life. If at the end of a normal day I have about 35% left with the Quad HD resolution, I'd have close to sort of 42, 45 with it in Full HD. So that's an option. I tend to charge my phone every night anyway. I may as well just leave it in the sharper Quad HD res and just get a little bit sharper resolution. And it also means when you're playing YouTube videos, if you do have it in Full HD, obviously it limits the YouTube app to Full HD. So I like to watch stuff in high res if possible, so I keep it like that. It really is a beautiful looking phone. As I say, I've got it in twilight. It comes in various other flavors, including some textured back models, but I think this is the most eye-catching. And I've had a lot of compliments from people saying, you know, what phone are you using? It's quite unique looking square camera setup, the twilight. It's an incredible looking phone. Obviously we have a notch, quite a big notch, and going into 2019, I suspect that's something we'll see shrunk on the P30 Pro, and of course then the Mate 30 later in the year. Biggest compromises, really, there's no headphone jack. Most phones don't have a headphone jack anymore. I know 2019 we've got the Honor View 20, which does, and also the S10 is likely to have a headphone jack. But aside from that, there's not much to complain about. Dual SIM card, stereo speakers, not something you get on a lot of phones. And that's one of the things that's kind of kept me away a little bit from the OnePlus, but I just prefer the battery life of the Mate 20 Pro. I like the fact that it has stereo speakers, and generally, the rear camera I find to be better on the Mate 20 Pro. So let's move on to the camera because this really is one of my favorite features. Personally, I do think the Mate 20 Pro has the best all-round camera you can get on a phone right now. In terms of pure image quality, point and shoot, one photo, single, auto, all that, I think the Pixel 3 is better. But the flexibility, the variety you get with having the zoom lens, so you get 3 times optical zoom, up to 5 times hybrid zoom, so it combines a little bit of optical, a little bit of hybrid. You also have that ultra wide lens, and it's something people seem to really love when I show them. So that flexibility is really useful, I find, and comes in handy when I'm taking product shots or just out and about doing photo things. And of course you do also have a fantastic night mode on this, which shoots like that. You get about 4-second long exposure. What's slightly annoying sometimes, I was just in Los Angeles and I was trying to get a night shot of the LA skyline, and because it was super, super dark, I thought night would be good. And it did kind of work, but then sometimes if it's really dark, it will put it in a 17-second exposure mode. And good luck trying to keep the phone still and not shaking for 17 seconds. It's kind of unusable without a tripod, so that's a bit annoying, and you can't seem to then adjust that. Generally, night mode is very, very cool. I also never thought I'd be saying this about a Huawei phone in terms of the camera, but I actually really like the AI that's built in, because normally, well, in the past at least, AI kind of just meant we're going to enhance the contrast and the vibrancy, just make it a bit more, pop a bit more, which would never really improve the photos. But the fact that the AI can now scene detect up to, I think it's over hundreds of different scenes and objects, so I can point it at a plant, or a blue sky, a historic building. The most useful thing though is it just auto goes into portrait mode when it detects a face, and then gives you that great bokeh effect. So you don't really have to do anything. It's a great point and shoot. Keep the master AI enabled in the camera settings, and then it will come up with what it recommends you do. Photos are generally very, very good, although sometimes I find in portrait mode it can be a little bit beautified, even with everything turned off. So what I found actually is if you go to aperture mode rather than portrait, it actually zooms in a little bit, but it kind of gives you a more natural, accurate looking photo. The front camera is also very good, although I do find that it kind of auto beautifies you even when you've turned everything off. I have all the lighting, studio lighting, phase smoothing, all that stuff turned off, but I still find my selfies come out a little bit smooth, a little bit beautified, even with everything turned off, which is really annoying. And it seems just inherent in Huawei devices that I appreciate it for the Asian audience, but I want to turn it off, so let me turn it off. So I don't like the fact that it sort of still beautifies me a little bit, but I do like that it has this AI HDR mode. You can turn it on and off at the top. You can see it says AI HDR right there. So if the sun's shining in your face and you maybe have a dark background, that could come across as a bit sort of contrasty and shadowy and not very good. This will even all that out and give you a better dynamic range photo. That can sometimes result in a flatter looking image, although you could always edit it afterwards and reduce the shadows, up the contrast and stuff like that. So that's the camera, which obviously is one of the biggest selling points of the phone. But I also love just how fast this thing is. Now it's fast because the hardware is very good. We got 6 gigs of RAM. We've got the Kirin 980. It's a very, very fast processor. Almost as quick as the new Snapdragon 855, certainly faster than last year's 845. It's kind of like a halfway house. So the Kirin 980 is fantastic, and its built-in AI tech means we get sort of improved battery life, we get performance that seems to be more consistent throughout, doesn't degrade over time as much as some other phones with other chips, so that's all very good. Now I would say what holds it back a little bit is this EMUI software. I do prefer generally as close to stock Android as possible, so whether it's the OnePlus 6T with Oxygen OS, or of course the Google Pixel 3, which is probably my favorite phone to actually use in terms of software. So EMUI isn't the best. I have a couple of issues with it. Sometimes you can't swipe away notifications. I found this with Facebook, Gmail, and Google Docs, and you just can't get rid of it. Not quite sure why. So there's still a couple of bugs there. Also, I would definitely recommend going into the settings, build number 7 times, unlocking dev options, and then reducing the animation times, because it's quite an animation heavy UI. Reduce that to half speed, everything does feel a fair bit quicker. But on the whole, it still feels pretty quick, and I do like the fact that you get things like dark interface color options for the settings menu. When I first got the Mate 20, I was actually really looking forward to turning off these Android nav buttons and using gestures. It has full gesture support. You can swipe up from the bottom to go home, swipe up and hold to get recently used apps, and then swipe in to go back. But it just doesn't work as well as, say, the OnePlus, especially because when you try to swipe back, because we have this curved screen, you really have to get your finger round the edge, which is quite uncomfortable with a phone this size. You kind of need to use it two-handed to properly get that grip so you can go back. I really, really wish they'd do the same thing as the OnePlus, where you swipe up from the lower corners to go back rather than the side edge with that curved screen. So that's annoying to the point where I've stuck with the Android nav bar keys. So while the UI may not be my favorite, it's still one of the better ones out there. We've got Android 9, EMUI 9, and because of the power of that hardware, it does still feel pretty nippy, especially if you do reduce the animation times, like I say, in the settings. I mentioned it earlier, but battery life really is one of the key selling points for me of this. The 4200 mAh battery, huge, one of the biggest. for a flagship phone, that is. And it's not just that it lasts a long time, we also have super fast charging through the USB-C port. We also have fast wireless charging, which is quite rare, as well as that reverse wireless charging, so you can tap it against another phone that supports Qi charging like an iPhone and actually then charge it. It is so slow though, so you might get about 5% in half an hour to the other phone, but it is a neat feature and I am keen to see how Huawei improve it with the next phone. Hopefully in the P30 Pro we'll have faster wireless reverse charging. Faster wireless reverse charging. So many things. So I really do enjoy using this every day. I suspect I'll probably swap to the S10 Plus when it's announced and comes out in late February. But for now, I am sticking with the Mate 20 Pro. But it's not going to be for everyone. First of all, this is very expensive. It's about £850. So obviously it's a good deal less than, say, the iPhone XS, but it's still very much at the flagship end. And compared to the OnePlus 6T for about $450 or $500, or the Honor View 20, again, about $400, $450, there's much better value options on the market which do similar things. But I don't think there's a phone that has the combination of the huge battery, the super fast performance, the triple camera setup, and this beautiful design out there right now. Plus things like stereo speakers, dual SIM, proper water resistance. So for me, it's kind of the best all-rounder phone, but of course you are paying a lot of money for it. But regardless of how good I think this is, and it genuinely is a great product, I know a lot of people out there, a lot of you guys wouldn't want to buy a Huawei because it's a Huawei and the security concerns, the Chinese concerns around it. Now, I don't want to comment on that stuff too much in this video. I don't have any more information than you do. I just read what's in the news as well. And I kind of feel bad for Huawei engineers and designers because they've built a beautiful phone, a fantastic phone, one that I'm choosing to use above all other phones every single day, and yet at the higher end, whether it's sort of infrastructure, telecoms, the issues around 5G and security and Chinese stuff, kind of just takes away from the fact that this is a great product. And it's not, I was going to say it's not their fault. I just feel sorry for those engineers who are putting all their time and effort into building this amazing product, and then whether it's true or not, you have these rumors, you have the news about security concerns. So I do understand that, I do appreciate that, and if you are concerned about that stuff, I guess better safe than sorry. Maybe you do want to avoid it. For me personally, I'm not that concerned, but I do appreciate this is quite subjective and everyone will have their own opinion on that. So 3 months later, would I still buy this today? Well, there's a lot of other phones out there, Note 9, Pixel 3, OnePlus 6T. I probably would still buy this, if I'm honest. I probably still would. It hasn't come down in price much. It's still about £850. It's about 50 quid less than the Note 9 if we're going by full retail price. But I guess the main problem is this is a 2018 phone in 2019 now, and at the end of February we can expect the new Galaxy S10 phones and the new Huawei P30 Pro, which may be worth waiting for, as that's usually their new flagship phone, and then the Mate series just is a bigger, better version of that. So while it may not be perfect, I am still using it every day. It's going back in my pocket for now at least, and I do highly recommend it. But I hope you found this longer term 3-month with video useful. If you did, click that like and subscribe button below and let me know in the comments what your favorite phone is right now and what you think of the Mate 20 Pro. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you next time right here on the Tech Chat.